Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode on Thoughtful Leaders by Collegedunia. Today we are delighted to witness Mr. Anshul as the guest of the honor. Having said that, before we start our conversation, I would like to ask Mr. Anshul to give our audience a glimpse of his past experience. Sir, please.
So Shubham, I come from an experience from a corporate background, and I've been very passionate. I have more than 23 years of corporate plus work experience. Now I'm working as director of an institute called Academy for Sports Science Research and Management, which is an institute under Delhi Pharmaceutical Science Research University. Along with that, I also am involved with technology venture, which is again related to sports. This is, I've in the past worked with infra companies. I've been an avid sportsman. I've worked with sports management companies. I've worked with various sports federations. So I come with a rich experience of about 22 years. And I graduated in 97 from IMT Ghaziabad. And I'm very passionate sportsman. I played multiple sports at different levels. I have been very keen tennis player, squash player, and still pursue playing golf and tennis today as well. So this is a short brief about what my background is. And we started this institute in 2017 at Delhi Pharmaceutical Science Research University. This is a sports science program, BSc Sports Science program. This year onwards, we are also introducing Masters in Sports Sciences, and we also plan to introduce PhD programs going forward. So our university is a new university, it's a state government university called Delhi Pharmaceutical Science Research University, which is led by very able and academician from the pharmacy space, Professor, our Vice Chancellor is Professor R.K. Goyal. He comes from he's a very learned and a renowned professional with more than 40 years of experience from the education side. And he is one of the people who actually embraced and understood the application of sports sciences in sports and the synergy we have with the pharmacy college. There within the pharmacy college, we already have a physiotherapy school, which synergizes with what we are doing currently and helps develop our program even to greater extent.
Great. That sounds really wonderful, sir. I suppose your brief was indeed a elaborative idea about what our audience is going to back with this kind of expertise which you have back till now in your experience. With that, having said that, I would like to start our discussion. My first question being straight to due to this amid lockdown and corona crisis, what are the major challenges that your college has faced right now? And in order to cope up the same, what all activities you have lined up?
Shubham, so when we were in the month of March, we realized that because of the COVID and all the activities, it's going to be a long drawn process where we would be away from office and students will not be able to attend classes. So to avoid a loss to students in terms of their education, their learning processes, we integrated technology and we adopted a lot of technology to help students learn and do classroom sessions through technology. So we have built up an application. We have in-house team which does technology development. So they developed an application, and we also run digitalization courses for sports. So that actually helped us. Our faculty members, our professionals on the IT side came up with an application which interfaced and gave students access to all the course material and learning material through the application. As a result, we were able to conduct our last semester online an integrated solution. Our faculties managed to create all the courses which were able to guide the students to understand, and we also introduced online learning, online classrooms. We've been using multiple platforms like Google's Zoom, etc., and Zoho, which helped online learning processes. And we managed to complete our one semester completely online, from assessments to assignments. Everything was conducted through an online process, and we are hoping that this will continue, and this will actually add a lot of bandwidth, not only to us but to students as well, because this brings in digital learning. And that is one of the agendas which our country today is following, where digitization has been a scope identified by Government of India, and which is being implemented by each and every state. And all the governments are taking that initiative. A lot of good work has been done by Delhi government for implementation and for education in the education field as well as in the sports field.
Indeed, sir. And would you like to share us the rate of admissions that you have witnessed till now for this year, as well as or if you are expecting any increase, or let's say if you what's your expectations for admission 2020?
So Shobham, the admission process has been initiated, but our admission actually matches with the admission at the Delhi University. So Delhi University is to start on the first week of October. So our admission process will run simultaneously along with that. So we are expecting this year we'll have about 70 to 80 students joining our institute. Our first batch was about 80 students. Our second batch, we had to kind of limit it to one batch of about 50 students, and then the third batch was about the same. So this year we plan to increase the batch strength and accept about 80 students, and we're hoping that we'll get more than we've got a lot of interest, because this is a course of this is a new course, new type of course. People are yet to understand the benefits and opportunities. There are a lot of international opportunities available, a lot of national opportunities coming up. Sports department is keenly looking at developing sports science program across the country in multiple institutes. They have identified about 10 universities in the last 3 years where they're starting master's programs. So this is a course which has a great future, because sports is picking up in India. Parents, families are now looking at sports as a career, and there are a lot of students who are aspiring sportsmen, but they don't make it to the 2 to 5% of athletes who actually land up representing India and start and do well in sports. So this is a vertical which is available for them. They can still contribute in sports because they have knowledge. This is one of the criteria we identify in students when we offer them admission, is that they should be keen sportsmen. They should understand sports. Initially, when we started these programs, our first batch, we accepted students from sports background, science background. But in the second year, we changed this format and we opened this format to students from all backgrounds, whether it's arts, commerce, or sciences. This actually kind of opened the admission process for students who are athletes and who are passionate about sports and want to contribute towards sports.
Great. That means you have been focusing on a lot on the quality which you have been delivering to these sports person, or let's say athletes who are actually our future athletes. Now,
Yes. So
coming to our next question. Yeah.
sure. Please go ahead.
Next question, would be being the director of ASSRM. How do you strategize about the key programs and plan for the administration of your college?
So, Shubham, this is our actually being part of a university which is a state government university. We have collaborated in such a way that most of our activities, in terms of recognition, is taken care by the university. Even the examination process and the degree is given by the state government university. So, in that particular component, that particular part of our process is taken care by the university. Administration wise, we have a full team which has the experience of physical education, sports. We have faculty members who have been part of national federations. They have represented India. They've been part of national teams. Plus we are getting qualified people who've been part of who've completed their PhDs. In fact, one of our lead advisors is president of Physical Education Federation of India. He's the one who kind of designs courses. He's Dr. Uppal, who has written more than 42 publications, books which are read in all the physical education colleges across the country. And he leads our education program in terms of devising the curriculum course. And we are in the process of collaboration with international universities. Hopefully, we will have some collaboration by 2021. And so those are the programs we are kind of focusing on right now.
And have you introduced any new programs due to this pandemic, due to introduction of this pandemic to this entire world? Have you introduced any course or let's say integrated any new program to your already existing programs? If yes, we would like to you to explain our audience about the same.
So we are introducing training programs for existing physical educators who could understand how to use the digital system, what are the best practices being followed today in the world in terms of in COVID scenario, how can they manage their training programs or how can they address the students using online tools? Because one of the biggest challenges we find in the physical education space is most of the physical educators come from the background, they've done physical education, they themselves were aspiring sportsmen. So they are disconnected from technology. So one of our objectives is to help them integrate with technology so that they can reach out to their students and the people or athletes who need help from them using technology as an interface to garner that information and knowledge. So those programs are being set up. They're going to be 3-day program, 6-day program, 21-day program. We've also done a program just pre-COVID with Kendra Vidyalaya, where we train primary school teachers to introduce students to sports or use modified games for teaching purposes. So these are kind of innovative programs we are coming up with, which will help the overall education system as well.
What a wonderful idea, sir. We must all acknowledge and appreciate such kind of activities which have been done by. We were not aware, to be very honest. India is not aware of such kind of activities have been initiated by our state government as well. Having said that, would you like to explain us about the extracurriculum activities which you have introduced, sir, in this change of world?
So currently, that's extracurricular activities is something which is on the back foot because we're trying to cope up with, we were trying to cope up with the backlog of education. So extracurricular activities is right now not our focus. Ours is a program where we focus a lot on sports and understanding of sports. We try to teach students through experiential learning. So when our programs run, we try to take our students to stadiums, we take our students where events are being conducted, we integrate with the Kabaddi League. IPL, football league, etc., where our students can go and get live experience. We have our students who have done internship with all these leagues, badminton league, kabaddi league, in organization of tournaments. So we are a program which is integrated with extracurricular activities. So no extracurricular activities as such.
Great. So what we have been thinking, you have already implemented it in your college. Great to hear that, sir. I would also like to know the most important question asked by most of the students before joining your college would be that what are the placement statistics of your college till date, and what is the average package offered to the student till date again, or let's say what is the highest or median package offered to the student, sir?
So Shubham, we started our program in 2017. Our students are passing out this year. Actually, COVID has impacted us a lot. We had a lot of organizations we had tied up with who were looking at coming and picking our students this September, October. But unfortunately, because of that examination not getting over, the whole process being delayed, it has been sidelined. And I can tell you about the internships which has been done by our students. They have gone to multiple organizations like Decathlon, like they have done programs with Gopi Chand Academy. They've done programs with Kabaddi League, IPL, then the Football League. They've done program with a couple of event management agencies, and these are all internship or summer training programs they've done. We expect these students to be doing pretty well in terms like we had engagement with Decathlon, who were offering salary packages between 2 lakhs as an entry, 2 lakhs to 4 lakhs for students entering into their system towards sports marketing, sports sales, being part of their the stores they set up. They're looking at students who understand sports, who can introduce people into playing sports, talent identification, because they conduct a lot of these programs. So we've tied up with some of them, but unfortunately this year COVID has impacted us, and we hope by October things pick up in a bigger way. And a lot of our students are looking to do master's programs. So as of now, this is the feedback I can give you. This was our first year of students passing out. So there is no track record of prior except the summer training and internship programs. So those are all mentioned on our website, and the organizations which have picked up students, all the details are given on the website, and those who are interested can actually have a look and understand how we are placing our students, what are the companies which are interested, and how the whole system is getting integrated as we go along.
So to our listeners, it's more like companies are looking forward for persons, or let's say employees who can empathize with this feeling of sports, who can actually understand and accordingly dispatch the same thing to the people who are coming to their stores or outlets, right, sir?
Not empathize. So for somebody like IPL, they need people for conduct of events. There are companies which are involved with talent identification, academies. They need to groom or identify students at the ground level. Currently, we are in talks with a lot of schools for our students to be picked up directly as talent assessment officers. So the placement for our students, so there is a lot of difference between physical educators and sports science officers. Physical educators typically conduct programs on a day-to-day basis. Sports science officers are people who are going to assess talent and guide students as to what field of sports they can pick up, then help them create programs sports-wise. So it's a typical gap which is available between a physical educator and going into a specific sport. So they fill that gap. Now they can assist, our students can assist physical educators, they can assist academies into fulfilling their objectives, they can assist federations into the right direction of how uh, the athletes can be engaged, how what kind of activities the athletes must do for prevention of injury, injury management. So all these scopes are covered. It's not only empathy, it's the scope of managing sports. Some of the students want to go into digital sports marketing, some students want to go into sports marketing. So all these scopes are open because our course and program gives them a deep knowledge of sports, and they are able to identify themselves with sports. That's why we kind of encourage people who are coming from the background of sports, they've played sports, they have uh, themselves, they're passionate about sports, to take up this program.
Great. That sounds quite well, sir. Means, having said that, like I would like to also take this discussion towards the kind of leadership which you have been spreading across your college, or people who are joining your college, in terms of their faculties, as well as to the students who have been coming to your college in order to address this kind of knowledge. Means, in one sentence, I can say we would like to know the kind of philosophy which you have been dispatching in leadership.
So, Shubham, we are trying to build sports leaders for tomorrow, who can be part of any federation, who can assist organizations or event management companies into executing events at the right level, marketing of events. So our philosophy at the institute is identify with sports, synergize, and integrate various organizations and build up the sports ecosystem so they can be part of the ecosystem. In India, sports market or sports industry is very, very small, and they're not even connected to each other. We don't have even some of the federations do not have proper websites or communication system to connect with their own stakeholders. So and worldwide, uh, sports market is more than $800 billion. India does not even scratch to about 2% of that economy, and we are one of the biggest populations worldwide. So we have talent, we have people, but they're not being groomed properly. So one of our philosophies is to help grow this ecosystem in the right direction, use technology to connect all stakeholders, and information and knowledge being available at a click of a button. So the stakeholders or the athletes, upcoming athletes, those people who are interested in sports, they can access information easily.
So you have been integrating all these different sections of sports into one domain, and you have been looking for such people who can actually take this further. When in India we have a lot of demand, but accordingly we don't have the supply for the same in this market, right, sir?
Absolutely, absolutely. All the state governments are today taking the right step in the right direction by trying to map all the facilities, to educate their physical educators with the modern practices. So we come in all these spaces to help them do these kind of things.
So this kind of thing would be, a big leap towards this industry, towards the sports industry, which has not witnessed such attention from our Indian parents, or let's say the traditional things which we have been following. So in this transformation, what are some of the biggest challenge that you see, both for higher education in general and specifically for ASSRM Delhi?
So the challenges in sports are, the whole community coming together, acceptability of sports as a career, then the education reform. In India, the education institutes don't give the right kind of focus to sports. Sports is an extracurricular activity. whereas internationally, sports is a mainstream. Sports is as difficult to learn as a physics or a chemistry or a biology or commerce or accounting subjects. But in India, they don't consider that. They say, oh, one class a day for sports should be good enough for a child. Whereas internationally, one class, 1 hour and a half is dedicated to every subject. So, an hour and a half is devoted to physical education or sports, and they have similar kind of faculty members who are involved with the program. I in early middle 80s, 86, 87, I spent a year of my education in class 7th in England. My father had gone there for a training program, so I managed to accompany him, and I studied there for a year. It was an eye-opening experience for me. I would say 60% of the teachers teaching in the school were involved in some kind of physical activity or sports at any point of time. When the students would play after school or during their program, there would be some teacher either from mathematics or from physics or from other activities would be part of the physical education program. And they encouraged every student to participate, and they had 6 to 8 hours of physical education programs every week. So imagine, I was only 12 then, and I got so much of exposure to sports which I'd never seen in India. So, and that was 86, 87. And today, Britain or UK is one of the leading sports science application where sports is focused, and they managed to win number of medals during Olympic Games as well. And it's a tiny country. It's a very tiny country compared to India as well. And they do much better in sports than what we do. So those are some of the challenges we need to overcome in trying to identify sports as a mainstream. Worldwide, sports is almost a $1 trillion economy. And India is focusing on multiple fields, trying to develop them, say this is an industry, this is an industry. They don't understand that sports is an industry by itself, and industry status and industry benefits should be given to sports.
So this is a very revolutionary idea which we are talking about today, and it will be a game changer for India, or let's say when we will be focused about these things, it will turn the table around. So I would like to know how you are able to take these responsibilities. You as ASSRM is able to take what are the key roles or responsibilities you have stated in the first go of this phase, of this change of phase.
So we can take small steps. So some of the roles and responsibilities have to be done by Sports Authority of India, Ministry of Sports and Department. We in our way are trying to contribute to the system by integrating technology, integrating sports sciences into this. And these are baby steps. And we need a lot of stakeholders in our country to take this. And we are trying to gather the knowledge pool and create a knowledge pool for people to access this knowledge through us, so that they can understand what are the essentials required for growth of sports industry. Unfortunately, we see a lot of administrators becoming part of sports who are not actually sports administrators. Till recently, even cricket was not administered by cricketers. It was administered by politicians or people who've been part of cricket as administrators, who have actually less knowledge of sports than actual sportsmen. By Saurav Ganguly coming into the picture as the president of BCCI, it's a very, very pleasant change, and I hope it happens for other federations as well. So that would be one giant step. If we have sports most of these federations and helping development of these federations and sports in our country. So we have to take a lot of steps, and we are far behind. We are at least 15 to 20 years behind some of these countries.
So till now you have shared a lot of things about this industry, as well as what ASSRM has been doing in order to pursue your dreams, or the void which we have in this sports industry. I would also like to know if there is something which we are missing out for our audience. If there is something still left which you would like to share with us and with our audience about this, about the change which you are witnessing, or let's say we are going to witness in the future days.
So I would like to suggest, a lot of parents stress students for education and trying to establish even establish their curriculum or their career in fields other than sports. I would like to send a message out to the parents that sports is a growing field, and essentially while the ecosystem develops, they are critical stakeholders, because if they don't support their children, converting talent or converting interest into a professional sportsman is not going to really happen. How much a child is passionate about a particular sport, or how badly they want to play, they will not be able to execute till they have family support. And sports is not only about the physical attributes, it's a lot about mental strength as well. Mental strength comes from support system which is available at home, with peers, with others. People, not only families, but the schools and education organization must support athletes, must support the students who are doing well. So for an athlete to become an athlete, they would have to spend anything between 3 to 5 hours training at the ground level, and they have to do not physical activity but mental activity into understanding the sport, strategizing, discussing and understanding. Whereas classroom studies, you can relax, you can sit, you can take a nap, but while on an athletic field you can't do all that. You need to be 100% focused, because you are physically conducting an activity, also training yourself mentally, so you can't afford not to be attentive or focused all the time. So people must understand and appreciate the work put in by children at the ground level in sports. There is a time one of the biggest problems in our system is introduction to sports. Introduction to sports is not done in a proper way. Some colleges or some schools do it in the right way, but most don't. For example, I do not know, football is one of the most popular sports in your part of the country. So if a child has started playing football, how has he started playing football? When he's in standard 1 or 2, the physical educator or the teacher says, see, those big boys are playing football, you have to do the same thing. And they hand a big football to them, because schools do not have smaller footballs. They just say, and the child who is anywhere between 6 to 7, when he tries to kick a football, what is he going to do? He's going to injure himself, because that ball is meant for a grown player, not a child of 6 to 7. So introduction to sports in the right methodology is important. Right equipments, right play field, right atmosphere, and the right environment. So a child of 6-7 has to be introduced to sports in a modified field, a smaller ball, softer ball, smaller ground, where he can hit the ball at least to a certain depth. And he can also schools can also use ground level activities for students to learn. If you're taught in a class a color blue on a blackboard, or circles or alphabets on board, it is a little boring. But you can actually learn jumping into a circle, jumping into a square by doing physical activities. This is something which has been in our system called Back to Basics, learning through physical activities. This is a program we are following and we are trying to help schools adopt. But the challenge is how much would they appreciate and understand, how much is the system willing to change. So there is a change requirement in the system. So that is one of the big challenges for our industry to grow.
It brings me to the thought that to a phrase, as they say, like introduction brings in the importance and interest in the child. So we are lacking behind with the introduction with NEP. Introduction of NEP in this industry, I suppose we'll be able to groom a lot of things from the very childhood of these students. Going ahead,
Absolutely.
sir. Yeah. Going ahead, I would also like to know the kind of curriculum of ASSRM ensure to make the best practice of industry, to get the best practice of industry for their students.
So Shubham, ASSRM it has one program which is right now BSc Sports Science. Specialization actually happens in master's programs. So when we bring in the students, we try to introduce them to multiple sports, introduce them to biomechanics, human assessment, evaluation, biochemistry, a little bit of physical part of physiotherapy, all these programs bit by bit. So it's like you are getting the feel of what is the basics of everything, what you require in talent assessment and management. Specialization happens much later, which is in the master's programs.
Great. So, sir, that brings me to the last question of the eve. That is, as we are facing this dearth of supply in this industry, while talking about India, so people would be more interested to go abroad and face the competition, and where the competition is too high. So how would you guide your students to survive in such a competitive scenario if they are willing to, witness the outside competition, outside India competition?
So that's going to be challenging because India itself, as time goes along, will have a lot of requirements. Internationally, they have, or it's prevalent to have a sports science officer literally in every school. Every school has a sports science officer in most of the countries which I mentioned. India is to scale up. India is to catch up. India has to understand that physical educators are required in school. Sports science officers are required at a group level where they can help multiple schools. And this has to be a government initiative. This has to be a state level initiative. So competition, more than the opportunity outside, we have opportunity in India. We are training sports science officers to actually be part of the Indian system, to help Indian system grow. So I would look at my students being part of the Indian system, not going outside. I'm not training students to go outside. What's the point of trying to do something which we want to do for India and train our students and send them outside? So my focus is India specific. My focus is not. We want to bring international programs from outside to India, but we don't want to take the talent which we are grooming to go outside. If they go outside for some programs for learning purposes or from experience purposes, we'll encourage that. But we want them to come back and impart that training in Indian scenario. So at the end of the day, Indian system benefits.
Indeed. Like when we are facing the scarcity, why should we supply outside? I can totally understand. Fine, sir. This would sum up the entire panel, the discussion, the kind of questions which you have, the kind of knowledge which you have shared about this industry. Would you like to sum up the entire discussion which we had, sir, in one sentence, or let's say last phase which we want to give to our audience?
Yeah, so in short, I would like to say that our initiative at Academy of Sports Science is to integrate with the whole sports ecosystem, get the sports ecosystem together, and give them the right resources to enable growth of sports in India. Our students should act as brand ambassadors for sports, for identification of talent and guiding the talent in the right direction.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time and the knowledge which you have shared.
Thanks a lot, Shobhan.